If you answered the mental guru for golf for ages now, you are correct. And keep that in mind as we focus on building Rick Shiels' mental toughness, and in particular, let's focus on his chipping. As I'm making this video, this reel comes up on Instagram by Stripe Fairway Green. Give them a follow, and I'm assuming this whole reel is courtesy of Rick Shiels episodes. And you can see the guy is struggling with his chipping. Other people are noticing this as well, and we all need to step in as a community. In this episode of Big Boy Pants Golf, we focus on making Rick Shiels good at chipping. Who said this? Players who play to play great understand that good can be the enemy of great. They know that if they get too concerned about not being bad, they might not free themselves up enough to be great. They don't care very much about making cuts or top 20 finishes. They play to win. If you guessed Dr. Bob Rotella, a legend of the golf mental game, then you, my friend, are correct. In this article titled Inside the Golfer's Mind from 2008, almost 15 years ago, we find key nuggets of wisdom that can help Rick Shiels and you break 75. You know what? Why don't we all break 75? We've all heard the saying that golf is 90% mental, and it's all about the space between your ears. Dr. Bob Rotella, I think, would agree. The article states, having said that, I believe it's impossible to overestimate the importance of the mind in golf. There is no such thing as muscle memory. Your muscles have no capacity to remember anything. Memory resides in the head. Therefore, no matter how long you practice a golf swing, no matter how skilled you become, your muscles alone can't remember it and execute it when the need arises on the golf course. Your muscles and the rest of your body are controlled by your mind. This is basic human anatomy and biology. Unless your mind is functioning well when you play golf, your muscles are going to flounder. If your head is filled with bad thoughts, your scorecard is going to be full of bad strokes. And I think we see this a lot in every episode lately of Rick Shiels' Break 75. Even his sidekick, Guy, notes in some episodes how Rick really struggles to keep positive. And if the round starts going south, it goes south very quickly.
Thumbs up if you like positive Shiels.
But in this article, along with some pointers from a mental master, a man who does 5 Ironmans in a row, his name is Kona Keith, we're going to help Rick Shiels strengthen his mind game. And gosh darn it, I want to see a Break 70 episode. And not on some Par 60 executive course, on a real deal course. I know Rick is tightening things up on a physical level, now focusing on a bowed left wrist. But what about also focusing on a bowed left and right brain? If it's bowed, that means it's pushing out on the skull and shows that the brain is getting enlarged. Point number 1, play to play great. Don't play not to play poorly. And I think we see in a lot of Rick's lessons even, especially those involving his chipping lessons, where he's always worried about the person, you or me, who's getting the instruction of looking foolish, if you will, flubbing a chip shot. And therefore, he keeps teaching the bump and run. Translation, the bump and run. Yeah, I know you can use an 8-iron and chip it up there and roll the rest of the way. But Rick, why don't you go back to your early lessons and focus on using the balance of the golf club again? That's where you have the margin for error. And if you practice that enough, you're going to have a wider arsenal of chip shots in your bag. I know the pain of bad chipping. For about 3 years, I never chipped. I just used the old Texas wedge. If I can use the bounce, then anyone can use the bounce. This part of the article is also very inspiring, that his clients have free will The choices they make with that free will determine the quality of their golf game and the quality of their lives. If you consistently make the right choices, you're destined for greatness. Again, this is not just for golf, this is for every facet of your life. And that's why we have an Ironman on this episode, who again does 5 Ironmen in 5 days. I'm not suggesting that this means you're going to win all the Grand Slam tournaments or all your club events or even all your Saturday morning Nassau. I'm saying that if you make the right choices, you will someday look back on your life or that part of your life that was devoted to golf and say, wow, that was great. And to me, that means using the bounce on your clubs when you're chipping and not just bumping and running all your shots or trying to find the easiest way. Sometimes you got to go for greatness. And that means flopping it 5 feet from the pin and letting it trickle out, or maybe even spinning a wedge. Point number 2, also directly related to chipping. Love the challenge of the day, whatever it may be. This is the challenge that I want all of us to strive for in 2023. I want you all to put your big boy pants on and become great chippers of the ball, and let's all lower our handicaps by 4 to 6 strokes. More Dr. Bob Rotella. Golfers who understand and love the game accept it rather than fight it. They realize that the essence of golf is reacting well to inevitable mistakes and misfortunes. And a lot of these mistakes and misfortunes come when you get a bad break, when the ball hits the green and maybe rolls off. Great chipping will counteract that. So what you can do here is control your attitude.
Positive thoughts today. That's all I'm going to go with. Positive thoughts all the way around.
Say, hey, no big deal that my ball got a bad bounce and didn't land on the green, or it hit the green and ran off. If you're a great chipper of the ball, that's still a scoring opportunity. Get out of results and get into process. If you are doing an Ironman, and in fact 5 of them in a row, you have to be focused on the process of nailing the running, swimming, bicycling. So let's cut to Kona Keith and see what he has to say about this. Kona Keith is a 3 times Xterra trail running world champion, world duathlon bronze medalist, 3-time Western States 100-mile finisher, 27-time Ironman finisher, including Kona 18 times via the Kona 5 and Epic 5 ultra triathlons, and former NCAA nationally ranked distance runner. In addition, he is the author of the books Optimized Runner and Kona 5, Taking on Life's Challenges, and Kona's Toughest Ultra Triathlon. Most importantly, he loves to encourage and inspire everyone to reap the positive, life-transforming benefits of swimming, biking, and running.
Hey, BBPG, great to see you, and great that you're doing an episode on the mental part of golf. So I'm glad to share some of my insights on what I do mentally with my ultra triathlon training and events. So as far as focusing on process instead of just results is number 1 for me is really putting in the training and having a schedule, sticking to it. And I try to do such long runs, bikes, swims that by the time I get to the event seems easy. Then number 2 would be having checklists. I'm pretty OCD, pretty organized. So having checklists before I travel allows me to free my mind up, focus on what I'm doing, and even on a daily basis, having checklists. So when I'm getting exhausted, is that I'm not overwhelmed trying to think of everything I need to do. I can follow those checklists and simply focus on what I have at hand. And then next point would be not focusing on the big goal, is breaking it down into smaller goals and focusing on each of those one at a time. So a good analogy I try to share with my athletes is if you're about to climb Mount Everest, is you're not going to just be focusing on the top of the mountain, especially early on when things are tough, you're dealing with some challenges, is that if you're only looking at the top, you're going to get overwhelmed by that. You're going to think there's no way I'm ever going to make it there. So what I recommend, break it down into smaller goals, get to the next camp, make that your next goal, your next focus. Then when you get there, reassess and then get to the next camp. before you know it, you're going to make it to your ultimate goal. Probably a good example, golf related, is think about even Tiger Woods. Is the first time he won the Masters in '97, he got off to a horrible start. I think his front nine, he shot 40. And he could have got pretty overwhelmed and thought, yeah, there's no way I'm going to get under par. There's no way I'm going to win this tournament. But sure enough, he focused on one shot at a time, one hole at a time, one round at a time. And at the end of the tournament, he ended up, I think, at the time, setting the course record, the tournament record. And I think still today, it's the largest margin of victory ever. So good mental strength.
On a more specific golf level, if you're going to focus on what you can't control, it's as follows. You're going to trust your swing. You're going to execute your pre-shot routine on every shot. You're going to stay in the present, not in the past, not in the future. Live in the now. Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. I will refuse to allow anything that happens on the golf course today to bother me or upset me.
Got to stay positive today. This has been my downfall, I think. I started to get in my own head.
Let that happen to your less zen buddy who's going to lose more strokes because he's focused on the mishit shot or the bad bounce he got.
Frustrating, really. Could have been a decent round today, but left too many errors in there.
I will trust my instincts and be decisive and committed. Humans are apex predators. Our instincts have got us this far. They can certainly carry you through another round of golf. I will get looser, freer, and more confident as the round goes on. Sure, a few of the earlier holes, you might be a little bit tight, but once you get past hole number 3 or 4, grip it and rip it. You got this. You too, Rick Shiels, you got this. I will let it go to my target on every shot. I will maintain a constant ideal level of intensity on every shot. There's a range, folks, where you're too worked up. Too worked up also includes biting off another man's nose after a golf match with him. Who knows? Maybe the warning sign was that this guy was throwing a golf club into his golf bag like Rick Shiels just did. Guy Charnock, be careful. And there's also underfocused. Get in that happy medium. You're concentrating, but you're not tense. I will play to play great. That should be my mantra, your mantra, and also Rick Shiels' mantra. We all need to set goals to improve, and when we're doing so, you need to accurately assess each aspect of your game. I know many of us struggle with chipping. What does Kona Keith focus on in terms of his strengths and weaknesses related to running, swimming, and bicycling? And how does this focus and ability to compartmentalize the different aspects of an Ironman, just like there are different aspects of golf, allow Keith to accurately diagnose any weaknesses he may have and make them stronger?
All right. So as far as dealing mentally with weaknesses and strengths in my ultra triathlon career, is that one of the major weaknesses for me is my swimming. Is that really, I grew up as a runner. That was my main thing. When I got into triathlon, I had to learn how to bike. Definitely had to learn how to swim. So one of the first things was being humble, realizing I'm not going to be great at everything and that I'm going to have to learn. And so started watching a ton of YouTube videos, got some coaches, and even just getting input from some of my training buddies that were good at swimming, and then putting in the practice, doing the drills, and then ultimately becoming a proficient swimmer. And realizing too that, practice doesn't necessarily make perfect. It's really practice make permanent. So make sure that you're learning the right thing and practicing the right thing. And ultimately that's what's going to pay off. And then as far as strengths go as I grew up as a runner, that's my strength. And so one of the things I try to do with that is then share that knowledge with others. And so even started a running club. I coach over 700 athletes and try to share that knowledge and help them with their journey in becoming better runners.
The final point that Dr. Bob Rotella makes is Love your wedge and your putter.
I'll thin it through the green. I actually don't like putting anymore. Oh, that's powerful. What was that?
And we can see Rick Shiels so many times not loving his wedge nor his putter.
My puttings have been horrendous, I know that. My stroke game's still not there.
Dr. Bob Rotella says that he feels that it's the wedge and the putter that really differentiate the good from the great golfer. And that's going to be the difference whether, in many cases, Rick Shiels breaks 75 or not. With the scoring clubs from the 8-iron through the putter, we need to try to attack the hole, not play defensive. Once you're around the green, always chip or pitch or putt to make it.
I'm going to chip in, everyone.
Let's narrow the target down to the actual hole, not just try to get it close. If you find yourself worrying about 3-putting, your mindset needs an adjustment. If you find yourself thinking, unless I make the birdie putt, I'll have wasted 2 good shots, your mindset, again, needs an adjustment. Kona Keith, what mental adjustments have you made to make yourself stronger in the Ironman and you think could carry over into making us golfers out here, us mere mortals, drop a few strokes? Hook us up.
All right, the final tip I'll share with you is really overcoming excuses in reaching your goal. So let's say you figure out whatever your goal is that you're usually going to come up with a bunch of reasons why you can't get started or you can't do it and so forth. And you really got to just say, screw it, just do it. For me, and say one of my lifetime goals was doing the Kona Ironman. And so a lot of things kept me from achieving that goal for many years. I was like, all right, I'm going to have to put all the training in, all the money involved as far as travel, accommodation, so forth. And it just go on and on and on about all these different excuses that kept me from pursuing it. And I finally had to say, you know what? There's always going to be reasons not to do it. I got to just say, screw it, just do it. Take the first step towards achieving that goal, say booking my ticket to Hawaii, and then all the other steps are going to fall into place. And so that's what I ultimately ended up doing, and then ultimately achieve that goal and then some. So for you, it might be, break in 75, okay? Figure out what it is you're going to have to do to make that happen, and then get started, get going. Or maybe it's to lower your handicap to a certain point, or maybe it's even to play your dream course like Pebble Beach or attend the Masters at Augusta. Whatever your goal is you got to have that reality where, you know what, there's always going to be excuses.
My golf game's not quite there yet.
There's always going to be reasons to not do it, and figure out life is short, screw it, just do it, get going.
Gotta stay positive.
Get in the back. We're going to go make some birdies. And maybe you'll work your way up to shotgun.